Welcome in 32 and 32. Today we are talking about the Chicago Bears. Nonsense Steve, Mason Cameron, Michael Burland. How you guys doing?
I'm living the dream. I got to pick my words.
I'm living the dream,
today.
baby. It's Chicago Bears Day.
I was about to say,
on.
I got to pick my words carefully if I want to be employed tomorrow.
That's right. I got Walter Payton right over my shoulder staring at you, making sure that you keep it in check here.
You know what? We're gonna keep it on track. Luckily, though, the Bears made it easy for us this year. So
they tried. They sure tried.
Yeah. Update on the weather. It's still 75, in case you're wondering.
Wow. Nobody was asking, Mike. Nobody wanted to go down that trail again. We didn't want to relive that. And you had to bring it back up.
Mike came in, burning bridges. That's what he wanted.
Exactly.
Immediately. But he should be excited too, because we got his boy Keenan Allen now.
Oh, that's why I'm upset.
Chargers football as well.
That's why I'm upset. I missed the guy already.
All right. We're gonna start at the top. Quarterback. They finally did it. They used the number one pick on a QB for the first time in the franchise's history. They had to do it at some point, right? To be so bad for so long and never have the number one pick and use it on a quarterback, that's pretty impressive. Not in the Super Bowl era, at least. I think the last time was like 1942, something like that. Something absurd. Something that you would believe for a franchise that's never had a 4,000-yard passer.
Before the forward pass was invented, was
pretty
the last
much. They had it two other times since then and took a running back both times. Bears football, baby. That's
Wonderful.
How we do. That's how we do.
But the wind.
That's right. The wind. Caleb Williams, number one overall. There was no secret. We knew he'd be number one overall at this time last year. It was just a matter of where he was going to go. Thank you, Carolina. We appreciate it. It was real nice of you. He is QB 14 in the ranks, 91 overall. He's going QB 12 in ADP in the 10th round. Mike, do you buy the hype for the rookie?
I love Caleb Williams, and I think he's going to be awesome, but I'm not going to be drafting him for 2024 and redraft. It's just a rookie quarterback, I think he will be the Bears' first 4,000-yard passer this year. But the touchdowns, that's why we're always worried about for rookies and quarterbacks. Even C.J. Stroud last year, amazing, right? The guy was ridiculous. He came on and took him to the playoffs. He threw 23 touchdowns in 15 games, 26 over a 17-game season, which is that's amazing for a rookie. But that's not difference-making stuff. I don't know how much he's going to do on the ground. I think he could be pretty good running the ball. I don't know how much, more as a scrambler than an actual runner. But, it's just rookie quarterback that's not going to be big in running like a Jaden Daniels or Anthony Richardson last year. I'm going to probably pass 10th round as my starting quarterback now at this point. It's QB 12, right? So if he was a few rounds later as I'm going to take two QBs late and stash this guy and hopefully he hits, I'm in. But I don't want him as my number one guy.
Okay.
I think that's a good kind of question in terms of how you're structuring your roster. And this might be something that you have to make on the fly, depending on where you fall in the weapons in this room, where we'll talk a little bit later as we get into it. But I could definitely see this being a large value as a stack to any one of these receivers in this room, or even potentially one of the backs in this room. I know that the running back quarterback stack doesn't get talked about a lot as direct influence in production, but a lot of the times when you do have a quarterback had a big game, they take the foot off the pedal and then they're going to start running the ball quite a bit. That's kind of the modern NFL. And when we look at that, I would definitely approach these guys that are going to be taken earlier, especially guys like DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. I think if you were going to pair one of them together, I could definitely see that being a value. But yeah, exactly like you're saying, Mike, at that point, you're kind of wanting to hope to have a more established option. And I'm the guy who takes, quarterback round 13. My starting quarterback, I'm taking round 13, 14. He's one of my last players picked usually. And it's just because in standard redraft stuff that doesn't do any bonuses and things like that, the quarterback position isn't just that highly sought after a lot. There's a ton of them. And at the end of the day, it's not a huge point disparity unless they really run the ball. So, and that's not what we're looking for here, or that's not what we're looking at here, essentially.
Yeah. I think maybe the argument, just, to give the argument in favor of him is, well, we've never seen a quarterback come in and he's throwing the ball to, Keenan Allen, future Hall of Famer, DJ Moore, and a stud rookie in Roma Dunze, top 10 pick, so like, and Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett and DeAndre Swift, like this offense has a bunch of pass catchers. So I guess that's the argument for him is like, we can't use old rookie QB stats because we've never seen something like this before. So it's possible. I'm just willing to be wrong on it, I guess. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, definitely in redraft too. In redraft 100%. I mean, this wouldn't be a dynasty conversation because he's like 1-1 in most dynasty, at least in super flex and whatnot. So
yeah. And okay, so I will pick the other side of it. Obviously, I mean, why would I not? Everybody, that's why I'm here, is to pick the other side of it, is it not? So in quarterback right now, it depends on where you're drafting, as always. I'm trying to get the exact one for. There he is. So right now he is going QB 12 in sleeper. He's QB 13 in ESPN ADP. So it always depends on where you play, where you're going to be able to get him. But the guys that are going around him in that area are Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Jaden Daniels, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff. If we're talking about round 10, at this point in the draft, I'm 9 picks in. So I have to have, I mean, theoretically, I could have a tight end. It's possible I could have one. But more than likely, I'm looking at about 5 or 6 wide receivers. And depending on what I did there, 3 or 4 running backs. That's typically where I'm going to be through the first 9 rounds. So I'm looking for a starting quarterback, but in the 10th round with only about 7 rounds left to go, I'm thinking I could do exactly what you're talking about, Mike. I could punt quarterback to this point, and as dangerous as it would be for him to be my QB1, I could also get an Aaron Rodgers or a Justin Herbert or a Tua and double tap quarterback so that I've got a veteran that I have a safe floor with, that I'm okay with living with as my quarterback, and Caleb Williams is my ceiling. He's my lottery ticket I hope pans out. So it's just you'd pick them in reverse, basically. It isn't that you get the established guy in the top 5 or 6, and then you take Caleb Williams for potential upside. You're taking 2 guys back to back, basically, in the 10th and 11th, or maybe the 10th and the 12th, where you're getting Williams and then some veteran that you are going to probably end up playing a lot more, hoping that Williams has a CJ Stroud-like year 1 and has a monster season that puts up huge numbers. That's what you're hoping for.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
Yeah. So really it all depends on how your draft board shakes out. If you get to the 10th round and there's only 3 or 4 quarterbacks gone and everybody is pounding the other positions, then more than likely, I mean, you would be jumping on somebody like a Stroud or a Richardson who's falling in ADP at a value that you would want to be able to pick up. So really it just depends, like I said, on how the board falls and what comes to you in your position. So let's look at running back now. This was the other spot. Their biggest contract they signed offensively was DeAndre Swift, coming over from Philadelphia. After years of being constantly hurt in Detroit, he goes to Philly for a season, puts up huge fantasy numbers, and Ryan Poles said, let me pay him. So now we've got DeAndre Swift, RB22 in the rankings, 73 overall. He's ADP going RB24, round 8, about halfway through the 8th round. You still have Khalil Herbert from last season, RB50, and he deserves to be RB50. Going in the 16th round, Roshan Johnson going right next to him, RB53, also in the 16th round. Both of those guys are very late round flyers, but the discussion here is DeAndre Swift. Are you buying DeAndre Swift playing in his 3rd system in 3 years as the Bears starter?
I'll let you go ahead and start, Mike.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, if I'm going to start, I'll just preface this by saying I've never been a big DeAndre Swift believer. Something about I felt like he's lacked vision through a lot of his career. He's got all the moves. He's definitely got speed. He's got burst. Being alone in a phone booth with him, you still couldn't tackle him. But his vision, I felt like, has lacked for a lot of his career. At times, he does seem like he picks it up, though. He had a lot of shining moments last year, and it equated to a fairly good season for him. But I am definitely on board with this spot, and it's given that what you would be looking at comparatively, I think you're getting a lot of bursts. Now, it's not going to be a consistency every week, I would imagine, as he's kind of struggled with consistency throughout his career. But it's definitely worth the flyer when you're looking at RB 24, 20 plus. Like you've said before, depending on how you're building your roster, he's not necessarily your RB 1 or 2 necessarily. He might be your RB 3 at that point, or maybe your RB 2. It just really depends. So I am definitely for it. I think the upside there is there, and the price is low enough for me.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement as well. I like this range where he's going 8th round. He's never finished below RB 24 in points per game in his career, or maybe his rookie year, but the last 3 years he hasn't. Actually, last year was his lowest. He was RB 24, which is you go back and look at the numbers in a per game basis, and he's always like, oh yeah, crap, he was top 15 in 2022. I thought he sucked, but I kind of agree, especially in an offense where we're talking about maybe a lack of touches to go around, in terms of the passing game. Well, what do you want? You want guys who can bust off that 50-yard run. They can catch it and take it to the house, right? Because those are the guys, when there's a limited amount of touches, you want to have those explosive players. So I think it will be interesting to see how they use the backfield. Like, I'm not entirely convinced it's just like him and no one else. Like, I'm curious what they do in the red zone. Is it going to be like Roshan? Is it going to be someone else? He's not going to have Jalen Hurts stealing all those touchdowns where he fell down at the 2-yard line, which was a ridiculous amount last year. He could have a bigger touchdown, kind of positive regression there with touchdowns if this offense is good as well. He's going to catch, his 40 balls probably, and he's always been an efficient runner, 4.6 yards per attempt in his career. Bears run blocking offensive line is actually pretty good. I'm definitely in on this round 8.
Yeah, the biggest question mark and concern for me is what you brought up there. Remember, last year was a complete and total disaster with Herbert and Foreman and Roshan. And so it was a 3-headed monster that they were constantly rotating. Plus, you always had Justin Fields, who was always lurking and always a problem at the goal line. 2 years ago, you had a similar issue with Justin Fields running constantly, always running in touchdowns. But remember, they had David Montgomery, and David Montgomery was the quote unquote back for the Bears and really, really struggled that season to steal touches from Khalil Herbert. And it's part of the reason that they didn't pay him and let him go to Detroit. And now 2 years later, when they thought, oh, we're good, we don't need to pay David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert can handle the workload. Well, he couldn't. And then they had to pay somebody more than they would have paid David Montgomery to keep him. And now they're starting it all over again with Swift. So my primary concern is, if we go back to 2 years ago where Swift is the primary guy, he's still going to have to share touches with these other 2 guys in the backfield. The biggest thing working in his favor, though, is, as you mentioned, working against Swift last year was Jalen Hurts running in the ball from the 1, and he couldn't do that. 2 years ago, David Montgomery had 1 rushing touchdown. Or no, he had 5 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, because he was dealing with Justin Fields stealing all of his rushing touchdowns. That's not going to be an issue with Caleb Williams. So if they get into the red zone, DeAndre Swift should have every opportunity to pound it in, unless for some reason that still is a Roshan Johnson job. And who knows if that happens. I think it just all gets thrown out the window. But I think the value right now is he's low enough in ADP that you can feel pretty comfortable taking him as what would end up probably being your 3rd running back. And you would feel pretty comfortable with that on your bench, if nothing else, as a depth thing.
Agreed.
Just in time for him to lose carries as soon as you need him.
1,000%. Do we care at all any kind of flyers on Herbert or Johnson in a draft? I don't think so. I think they're just guys to know off waivers if you are desperate at some point. But I would say no, correct?
Probably not. I mean, Roshan over Khalil Herbert, but yeah, they're probably waiver wire guys.
And I think that we're in agreement as well. Like, if we're thinking long-term too, DeAndre Swift not been the picture of health his entire career. If he were to go down and miss time, I think it's a committee and we don't really care who the starter in Chicago is, right?
Probably.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Wide receivers. This is where they
Oh,
made
baby.
huge strides this offseason. So we've got DJ Moore, of course, coming back in year 2. Wide receiver 17 in the ranks, 27 overall. ADP, he's going wide receiver 22, 5 spots lower, but middle of the 3rd round. And then they traded for Keenan Allen, wide receiver 28, 52 overall. ADP of wide receiver 33 in the 5th. And then Roma Dunze, they had the 1 pick and the 9 pick. At number 9, they take Adunze to pair with Caleb Williams, wide receiver 48 in the ranks, wide receiver 41 to the people in the 6th round. So you have a Bears wide receiver going in the 3rd, the 5th, and the 6th. 3 weapons for Caleb Williams. Are any of those standing out to you as red flags or guys that you want to pound the table for?
Mike, I'll let you get started because I know your guys on this list. Go ahead. This is a safe space, buddy. No judgment here.
I love
group
Keenan
therapy.
Allen. Yeah, definitely love the guy. He's the one I'm most worried about, to be honest. As painful as it is, old player moving to a new team is kind of a red flag already. Also, he's just been thriving off volume, Keenan Allen, insane volume. And I just don't think he's necessarily, unless someone gets hurt, one of these other 2 guys get hurt. I don't really see the volume anywhere close to what he was getting. And for that reason, when I just talked about it with Swift, when you're in an offense where there's limited touches to go around, I want the players that can do it on 6 or 7 targets, right? That's what I want. And I think DJ Moore can do that. I think possibly Roma Dunze can do that. We'll see year 1. I don't think Keenan Allen can necessarily do that, as painful as it is. So he's the one I'm actually most worried about. I don't really want to pound the table for any of these guys. If I had to take one, I actually might take Roma Dunze just because I think he's that damn good. But then seeing that 6th round is always tough for not only a rookie receiver, but a guy who's behind DJ Moore and Keenan Allen with a rookie quarterback, right? So it's they just keep piling on the red flag. So I might be out on all 3 of these guys, which kind of sucks because I think the Bears are going to be fun to watch this year. And, you like to have guys on, you like to watch the guys, your fantasy guys and stuff like that. But if I had to choose one, I think I might lean Roma Dunze in the 6th round, and hopefully you can sneak him a little later.
See, I'm of a slightly different thought process. Instead of, which one do you pick? Why not all of them? Why not back all of them? See, I'm of the thinking that this is going to be a top 10 passing offense in the NFL this year in terms of EPA per play, in terms of scoring, in terms of red zone efficiency, things like that. They are going to absolutely dust people's secondaries. And why? Because who are you supposed to cover? Who are you supposed to cover? We're talking about this in terms of I'm most excited about Keenan Allen. And here's why. Because we're getting a bona fide slot option that is going to get open at a huge degree. And we can talk about the injury concerns. While last year, I don't believe he had too many ailments that hindered him from playing week in and week out. He had a pretty good season. And when you go and cut on his tape, I mean, he still catches contested balls. He still has that attitude. Now, it's a difference when you're going from playing, 8+ games in California to playing, up in Chicago. Those hamstrings might get a little bit tighter. But in my opinion, I think you're getting a proven commodity who is still getting open to a high degree. And yeah, 5th round, I would prefer saving a little bit if I'm going to be taking Keenan Allen, but I would prefer it maybe over the 3rd round with DJ Moore. As much as I love DJ Moore, I just think that all of these guys in one room is going to hinder them a little bit. But at the same degree, I don't see why all of these guys couldn't have 5, 6, 7 targets most every game, because they are going to get a ton of work. They're going to get a ton of looks. And one thing that I have going for Odunze, which I don't, like we said, I don't think the 6th round is a bit rich for me with Odunze. But one thing that we do have to lean on is best ball. I think he's a perfect option for something in best ball where he had a 35% deep target rate last year. That's on targets of over 20 yards or more, and 40 catches of 15+ yards in 2023. That is a ton. That was a huge amount in the top 5 in the Power 5. Caleb Williams, on the other hand, is 53% adjusted completion percentage on 20+ yards throws. That's up there too. They can connect on these balls and absolutely dust secondaries. And if they can get that deep ball going and free up the guys underneath, I think everybody's eaten. And you're going to end up having an offense that is like, it doesn't matter who you have as long as you have one of them type offenses that we talk about every single year. And it's just an arms race to get as many, historic pace breaking offensive players as you can. So
one other thing about Odunze is he could also, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore had never been big touchdown guys. So if Caleb Williams is going to throw 25 plus, Odunze could kind of find his way as like, a potential wide receiver 3
make his
or
value
whatever
that way.
Yeah. Exactly. So as well as maybe, the tight end that we're going to talk about. So yeah, it's tough. What makes it hard about, all these guys, DJ Moore coming off his best season, Keenan Allen at age 31, now 32, coming off his best season. Like that's what makes it so hard to not draft these guys. Cause it's like Keenan Allen was just wide receiver 3 in points per game last year, like insane. Right. So yeah, it's tough to not want any of these guys. It's also very scary to draft where they're going in each round.
All right, here's my homer pick that I'm going to throw out there. Are you ready?
Right.
So in NFL history, there have been 17 times that an offense has had 3 receivers with at least 900 receiving yards. This could be number 18. I believe that with these 3 guys. Last time it happened was 2023 with TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. And then before that, it was the Chargers in 2019 with Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, and Mike Williams. I think there's a very strong possibility that DJ Moore is a 1,200-yard receiver this year. I think Keenan Allen can hit that 900. I think that Odunze could hit a couple home runs and hit that 900. I think 1,000 would be very difficult for all 3 of them, but I think they can definitely hit that threshold. I think the volume in the passing game is going to be there. We're talking about Caleb Williams being the first 4,000-yard passer for the Bears. He's got to throw those 4,000 yards somewhere. And the guys behind these 3, by the way, not worth mentioning. So it is these 3 wide receivers and the tight ends. And that's basically what you're looking at. So I think all of them will get volume. All of them will have production. Like anything, I think, especially because of the 2 veterans ahead of him, Odunze is probably going to struggle out of the gate. So for me, that's the red flag, a 6th round pick on Odunze this early, because I don't think the first half of the season is going to look great for him. But I think the second half of the year, once he's locked in on the playbook, once he's got the connection going with Williams, and once he feels more comfortable in the NFL, I think he blows up the second half of the year. He could be a good buy low mid-season. But I think at the start, from the jump, he's probably the one I'm least interested in drafting, because I think out of the gate, I think he's going to struggle the most.
I mean, I think essentially, his use for them early on is as a decoy in deep routes. He's going to line up as the Z next to Keenan on a lot of occasions and just take tops off of defenses and free up deeper coverages away from Keenan so that he can work. At least that's how, offenses that have operated with Keenan Allen have been in the past. And that's similar to what Odunze operated as in college. So he was I don't want to say deep ball specialist, but he's better at deep balls than pretty much anybody else out there. So I would definitely err on that side for sure.
What, just real quick before we get to the tight end, what passing touchdowns for Caleb Williams? Where are you guys at? Because I think I saw Vegas. It depends where you look, and Mason, you'd probably know better. I think I see like 22.5 around there. Do you think he gets above that, below that? Do you think he breaks the record of 31 by Herbert, or where are we at with potential passing touchdowns?
Let's see. I have him at 27.
Okay.
27, that's fair. I think that I would probably lean somewhere in the 25 range.
Yep.
Just given the weapons that he's going to have to work with. Look, I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah, I've got 27 as his ceiling, 23 as the floor. So 25 would be smack dab in the middle there.
Yeah, it seems about right.
Are you trying to find the over under? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking through FanDuel. Here we go. I got it right here.
I thought it was like
Yep.
22 and a half. Somewhere.
Yeah, FanDuel has it 22.5.
Okay. So I've got his floor
so
as
yeah.
the over. So I think
Yeah.
I think we're good there to hit that if you want to get out in your sports books. Of course, you know, we're recording all this a month before it'll even air. So at that point, it'll probably be like 28.5.
Well, and I mean, the associated pricing is leaning towards over too. They're at -118 on the over there. So they obviously are leaning into what they say with that, just as a comparison of some other young quarterbacks on that list here. Let's take a look. Jaden Daniels, 16.5. Who else do we have?
His
Bo
value's
Nix,
on his legs, though. That's
15 and a half.
passing.
Yeah, but just in terms of what the general market looks at when they run these rookie quarterbacks, 22 is a high number in odds makers' minds for a rookie quarterback. I don't think it is for the rest of the public or even some of the sharps out there or us that are just, you know, commentating on what we're going to be seeing from the Bears. Personally, I'm higher on the Bears. I think this Bears team has built up better. If you guys watched our division projections video tier list type things that we did a couple of weeks ago, you would know that we're much higher on the Bears, and I think the offensive efficiency is going to take a skyrocket. So yes, I would lean towards the over, even though maybe the market value isn't quite there. You might watch it and see which way it goes. If it starts to creep higher and you're somewhere around, say they hit like 23.5, 24, and they start giving you plus money on the over, I might start attacking it there because I still, like I said, I still like it probably up towards that 25 range. I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibilities for how much I consider them going, how much I consider that they are going to be throwing the ball given how few times they did this past season.
All right, rounding it out with tight ends, we have Cole Kmet, the incumbent, been there for a few years now, signed the extension. Tight end 16 in the ranks, 123 overall. He's going tight end 15 in ADP in the 12th round, which feels pretty solid. They also signed Gerald Everett in free agency, tight end 31. I believe he is there to just be the number 2. They want to run a lot more 2 tight end sets. They feel comfortable in that format. But I think other than possibly, again, getting by the goal line and falling in the end zone, Gerald Everett, outside of a Kmet injury, isn't going to carry a lot of value. So what are we thinking on Cole Kmet? Is that about, I mean, we're talking about the 12th round. Are you comfortable with him being a dart flow starter for you? Or are you just looking at him as a depth guy, maybe?
Yeah, it's going to be, again, we're talking about all these mouths to feed, and he seems to me, he's the
odd man out to me, right?
Yeah, he's going to have to do it through touchdowns, I feel like. And that's always hard to which most tight ends are. Like he's going to fall in that 40 to 55 catches, 500 to 650 yards. If he catches a touchdown, you're really happy, or you get, 6 or 7 points or whatever. Like that's kind of where I see him falling, which maybe I'm wrong because he's a good player. Like if you look at his numbers last year, like pretty good, 75 catches, almost, over 700 yards. It's just, again, now we've added, 2 stud receivers and a rookie quarterback. So maybe he does it with like 8+ touchdowns, but I just feel like that's kind of his only path to be no more than just like a streamer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I think that in terms of how we usually describe that player, tight end, odd man out, not a ton of volume. If we're gonna get something out of him, it has to be it has to be touchdowns. And I think if you're going to lean on one of those guys in that range, that's a lot of this position in general. Like you said, I would probably lean closer to this guy. Why? Because it leans into what we just said previously, where DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Maybe it was Rome Odunze that's going to be this touchdown monster for them, but maybe all these guys bring them to the forefront. And all of a sudden, Roschon Johnson and Cole Kmet lead this team in touchdowns. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. Now, is it likely to happen? No, probably not. But is it worth a flyer? 12th round, tight end 15 in ADP. I would lean towards yes. And again, the reason being is because I think the offense is just going to be productive. I think I would rather have a member of a extremely productive offense, even with too many heads to feed, than a guy that is the top dog in an absolute dumpster fire gutter palette of a team on offense. So
you guys know me. I'm team abolish the tight end. So I'm fully invested in punting the tight end as far as I can punt it. And this year, let me tell you, for us punt the tight end folks, chef's kiss. It is beautiful. It is amazing because we're talking about Cole Kmet going in the, what did I say? It was the 12th round, right? Yes, 12th round Cole Kmet right now. And he's going wide or tight end 16 in that same area, basically the same rounds of the draft. You're looking at Dalton Schultz in Houston, Pat Freiermuth in Pittsburgh, TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota, Luke Musgrave in Green Bay, Hunter Henry in New England, even Dallas Goedert and David Njoku aren't too much further up the list. If you want to just completely forget about tight end the first 10, 11 rounds, have at it. You have so many options.
That's the epitome of the Spider-Man meme of them all pointing at each other. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. None of them jump out of the one that jumps out to me is Hawkinson, because he's in a situation with a rookie quarterback where theoretically, if he's back healthy and he's a big part of that offense, he could go off and have a big season with JJ McCarthy and end up putting up monster numbers inside the top 10 for tight end. And I say monster in terms of, tight end scoring, not actual like good fantasy numbers, but like a monster tight end season. But outside of that, I mean, all of these guys are the same thing. You're just looking for depth. You're looking for someone you have to start at the position, and you're looking for somebody that's going to fall in the end zone on an offense that's going to throw the ball a bunch. So many options for those late tight ends. Cole Kmet is just one of them. If he's the best of the bunch in your mind when you get there, take him. Absolutely. I'm all for it. But I'm not going to say you have to reach for him in like the 9th or 10th round or anything like that. I think you're fine. All right. Any closing thoughts on the Bears, guys? I mean, we got through it. It's a rough couple of teams we had today.
Go ahead, Steve. Let it out. Give us
I don't have anything to let out. I mean, I got it all. I'm not going to say Jack's catchphrase because we've said it for 2 years now and they've been absolute trash. So I'm going to not say it out of pure not jinxing it. That's what I'm going for.
Oh, I tried to get it. Jack, I tried to get him to say it.
You could try, but it's not going to happen.
Well, no, I think that I don't really have any closing comments. I think the Bears are going to be a better team than they were, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to watch them this year. One of the more exciting teams to watch. CJ Stroud versus Caleb Williams week 2. It looks like a night game. I don't know if it's a Thursday night game. No, it's a Sunday night. Sunday night game. There you go. Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud. Excited for that one.
There we go. All right. Well, let's see. What do we have on the docket tomorrow? I believe the first one tomorrow will be Cincinnati. Correct? If I'm alphabeting correctly. I'm almost positive I got that right. Should be the Bengals tomorrow. And we don't know who that crew is going to be yet, but it'll be great because you're here with us. So we appreciate you watching. Till next time, keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at ImportantNonsense.com. Kaboom!